Okay, this should work. Is it working?
I'm still here.
I can't see where we are. No, it's not that one. Oh, Tom. It's so weird. It's like, are you there still?
I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm right
sure.
here.
Yeah. It's like we're here. But, oh, we are live on Facebook. It's just that I can't see it on Facebook.
No, it's there.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
It's just a little technology issues here and there. Welcome to the world of tech.
Well, I know, right? And that took us a few minutes to sort out, but I'm just seeing if I can see any comments, because we want to be able to allow people to comment as well.
Sure.
Somebody was all right. Okay, well, let's just get chatting and just see where this goes, because it's a new experience for me, I can tell you. Doing
now
Zoom
you're gonna be a pro at going from Zoom to Facebook Live. It just takes once.
It just takes once. Yeah. So it's good to see you, Tom.
Good to see you.
We're supposed to have been here 20 minutes ago, but never mind. We're here now, aren't we? There's no time, is there, in the universe?
No, not anymore. That's for sure. Not since quarantine came. It's, who knows what day it is.
I know. And what I originally titled this video as, I could have called it "What the hell is going on?" But I called it "What is going on really in the world, and what's it all about?" And
I wish I knew.
Yeah, same. But I kind of have an idea, but I have an idea from my perspective of the soul's consciousness part of us, right? So my idea is that we are going within so that we can really find out what we really truly need in our lives and what we truly desire and what's really important to us, and that everything in the outside world is a reflection of all of those parts that just never got healed. So all the riots that are going on at the moment in the US and all of this kind of unrest and the control. If we think about it, we've all got that within us, haven't we? We've all got a riot inside us. We've all got needing a control. We've all got confusion. I definitely did about Facebook. We've all got little bits and pieces of that. And the work that I do, I help people to release these unwanted parts. And I wonder if this whole thing is bringing it all up to be healed. And so that's kind of my perception of it. I know it's completely different to some people's perceptions, but mine is that I'm looking at it from a soul's perspective of healing our healing journey and stepping on our mission.
So, I think that that's as good of a point of view to have on all this as any. Now, I traditionally come from more of sort of a corporate type background on things, but as we talked about when I was on your podcast, it's now 3 months ago. It's hard to believe that, this has all gone on for 3 months, because we were together in San Diego as the COVID crisis kicked off.
And we were all hugging each other, and we were in this little bubble. I suppose we'd say it was like a bubble of normality. Is that a word? But, bubble of normality.
I go to a different conference every week as a speaker or as the host, master of ceremonies of a conference. And that was the last conference I went to. And I'd have to do the math, but I think it was 11 weeks ago and maybe 12. And, in that time, and I think I said it in the thing is that a year ago, I would be sitting in the corner, rocking, crying, watching, my business sort of evaporate. But, I sort of had my own sort of little spiritual opening up and realizing that things happen for a reason and that you have to be true to yourself and that the outside things don't necessarily dictate the inside things. And so I'm not crying in the corner. I'm just sort of riding it through, kind of seeing where this whole thing takes me.
Yeah. And I was on Cool Things That Entrepreneurs Do, and you were on the Spiritual Awakener. So we've done that, but we actually met in September 2019 at the New Media Summit in San Diego again. So that was my first time I met you. And then I met you again in March, didn't I? And then we kind of steamrolled and kind of went on each other's podcasts. And, you know, because I didn't have one in September. I only had one like this year.
No, but if you were to look at September through February, that's sort of when I kind of went through this sort of change. And I've been listening to a lot of different sort of mystic philosophers and Buddhists and Hindus and a lot of lectures by Ram Dass and others. And it is opening up something. I don't necessarily know what that means, but I'm on the roller coaster, so I'm just here for the ride now.
God, my roller coaster was probably when I was 27, 28. And so that was my roller coaster and my resistance to that roller coaster, you know, and I'm 50, just a bit, 50 and a bit now. So, you know, it's.
So for how many years do you get to say 50 and a bit?
Well, I'm like my children. My children are like, they always want to be a bit more. I always want to be a tiny bit less. So they're like, well, I'm nearly 13. You're like, no, you're just 12. Said, no, I'm 13 soon. Yeah.
I turned 54 on Monday, a week from today.
Did you?
And so I like just being 50 and a bit.
Yeah, 50 and a bit's great, isn't it?
50 and a bit.
50. Well, I'm 50 and a bit. I'll stay 50 and a bit for a while. I'm quite happy with that. But to be honest, I don't really mind how old I am because age is just, you know, how far are you in your world? And just going back to where you were saying about this kind of opening and this awakening, I think so many people that's happening. Yours happened early, but people have had to do that in February, March. And April and now. And I think that's the key thing. It's sort of saying, well, actually, who am I? I'm not my job. I'm really my mission. Yeah. And I know on the show when we were talking about, you know, when you were younger and because I said, oh, how did you know that you wanted to, you're an amazing comedian as well. But how did you want to be, how did you know you wanted to be a speaker? And that was really from the get-go, wasn't it, really, if you think
well, as a kid I wanted to be an actor, and so I think that the two, you know, it fills that gap of what I wanted when I was a kid. But I want to go back to something where you said, you know, you don't mind being 50. I never minded. When I turned 50 4 years ago, a lot of my friends who I grew up with were having sort of that midlife, oh my God, 50, what does it mean, this and that. But the reason why it's never bothered me is my dad, who I was super close with, my dad was 52 when I was born. So I don't even have a memory of my dad until he's almost 60, right? So, I mean, you know, you figure 5 or 6 years before you have super strong memories. And so he's almost 60 before I have any memories. And he was really pragmatic. And he always said, oh, well, you know, you got this older dad, you got the short end of the stick. I'll probably die before you're 25. And he actually lived until 6 years ago. He was 99 when he passed away. Wow. So I never looked at age, and he had a very full life. And until about 96, it was all really good. Yeah. And so I've never looked at that as sort of a problem. But getting back to sort of this themology, when I turned 50, I made a personal commitment, and I didn't know what it meant, but I was going to make age 50 to 75 the best years of my life.
Amazing. Yeah.
I have just gotten very open to whatever comes my way. And part of it is this new way of looking at the world.
And I think, you know, we have a Saturn return astrology. You have to Saturn return sort of 27, 28, and you have one around 50, I think, as well. And astrologers are probably going to say, no, that's not right. But I think it is around that time. It's quite pivotal. And so it makes sense that you had this kind of almost like that pre-awakening where you said, actually, whatever happens, I'm going to have a great time. Yeah. And actually, you probably had a great time pretty much the whole rest anyway. Yeah, it's just a different great time.
My daughter said to me, I said that I was going to make 50 to 75 the best years of my life. She's like, well, what about age 25 to 50? What was wrong with that? And I said, I was raising you. It was hard.
I know. And I've heard this before, Tom. And it's so funny because it's like, I have my two children, as you know, and, you know, one is 12, nearly 13, I have to be told, but she's just 12. And I've got one that's literally just 11. And they are, you know, obviously my world, you know, they're really young and they're in my world. But essentially, they've always seen me as a mother that has done other things. Yeah, I haven't just been the mother. I've been the mother. I've been mummy that travels, mummy that goes and does this, mummy, you know. So they've seen a mother like that because I was a single parent from, they were 2.5 and 11 months. So I brought them up myself while still living my mission, which is kind of interesting when you think about what I had to do. But those years are not easy, are they? They're not easy when you're bringing up a child. You know, they are the university and the degrees, aren't they?
Well, it's interesting because my younger daughter is right now a high school senior. And, you know, I mean, of course, my heart goes out to anyone who knew anyone who got sick or passed away with this crisis and all this. But the people I feel the saddest for are the high school seniors, the people who are finishing up that thing. And I can only look at it through the eyes of Americans, but you know, college seniors, every college is going to have sort of different traditions and different things they do. So it's not a single shared societal thing. For the most part, not all, but for the most part in my country, you know, you've got prom, and you've got senior trip, and you've got ditch day, and you've got graduation.
We've got some of that. We're getting some of that from you guys. Yeah. Yeah. They're starting to have proms here, which I never had when I was a child. So, but
it's a continuous thread that runs through almost everyone. And they've sort of had that all ripped away now in the last of their senior year. And now it's in question, you know, as they look to go to university, will universities be opening? How will they be opening? What will it look like? And so, you know, I think to some extent, my older daughter made a comment yesterday that 2020 is going to be a year that documentarians, people who make documentaries, will cover in so many different ways for years. And part of that is, you know, imagine, you know, being that high school senior right now. It's a unifying. I mean, it's horrible that all this stuff was ripped away and they'll never get a chance to get it back. My older daughter was supposed to get married 2 weeks ago, and I was saying high school seniors and brides had it all ripped away. And my high school daughter said, well, she'll still get her wedding. It's just going to be 6 months or a year later. I'll never get my high school senior year back. But I think that there'll be documentaries made about that, about
it's the new history. It's the new history.
2020 is like 1968, 69. If you look at all of the documentaries of the Summer of Love and the war protests.
That's when I was born, 69.
2020 is going to be very much a year like that, where there will be documentaries about, you know, the crazy things in politics, the COVID stuff, the economy. There's so many things that will be covered from history that it's hard to see it when we're living it.
And if you think of 2020, you see it as like, if you imagine vision, 2020 vision, I always look at it like that. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what it is we're seeing that we didn't see before. And, you know, I know that there's censorship and stuff. There's probably happens all the time with whatever we post. So we have to be a little bit mindful of what we say. But if we look at what we haven't seen before, and perhaps what we're seeing now, what's coming up in, you know, the consciousness of people, where they're watching, maybe I don't need to listen to the news, maybe I don't have to look. And when I went over to America and I was watching the TV, not that I watched much TV, but in the hotel room, it was full of drug companies pushing their drugs. And we don't have that here in the UK. I couldn't believe it. I was like,
almost every third commercial is, and they have to give them all fake names too, like Tojemia. You know.
When you look at somebody jamming their toe in a door, right?
You know, it's like, but you know, then it'll have nothing to do with anything it sounds like. It'll be, you know, for earaches or something. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. But
a big story behind it as well. Like I saw lots of things like a big story behind the actual drug company. So this sort of thing, you know, perhaps we're looking at, I mean, I'm doing quite a lot of research at the moment on toxicity. So I've been recording lots of clearing audios, light language or stuff like that to clear toxicity. Now, not only from general toxicity, you know, with cell phones, etc., but from things that we might have had put into our bodies, I'll say it that way, in the back door. Yeah. So going in the back door to our bodies where it's been a bit of a shock and there's other chemicals, that are traveling in our body to hold that there. So that's the way I'll say it. And so I've been looking at that because I've realized that actually that's a massive deal at the moment. People's bodies are really showing the toxicity levels. And of course, then there's the other thing of perhaps wearing a scarf, let's say, over our face. So we're breathing in a bit more CO2 and we're not breathing in as much oxygen. So that also excites all the stuff that needs to come out that can't come out. So I'll just say it like that rather than labeling any names. Yeah. But it's an easier way to do it and get it live and out there.
Well, but the other thing that I've sort of noticed too is that as I've been doing some very basic study is, sort of this energy that runs through everybody. And, I think there's a lot of negative energy that people have let attached to themselves through toxic friends, through toxic relationships. I've worked hard to kind of clear those type of people, as far away as possible. And it helps.
It does help. Toxicity can be, and I got this a little bit this morning when I was meditating, but toxicity is trauma, emotions, chemicals, TV, BBC in our case, many, all that sort of stuff. And it's the toxic energy that you're putting into your body, either through mind or through your skin, or something you eat. So it's that whole thing, isn't it? And if you can just clear that out, however you clear it out. So what do you think? How do you think the world's going to look? I know we said about the history thing. How do you think it's going to look? So imagine that we could catapult ourselves in 5 years' time, right? What do you think it would look like?
So, there's a lot of talk right now about, the new normal, and that we're going to be doing things like Zoom instead of getting together in person. And I actually don't believe that. No. I actually think that human beings, we are wired to be together. I think that's where we get the positive energy, as well as picking up some of the negative energy. But I think that we get it through that interaction. And they've done studies that while using a tool like Zoom or Facebook Live or video is better than nothing, it doesn't come close to being together in the same room and being able to have that thing where the energy can vibe together, or where people can touch and hug and laugh and smile. Because absolutely. Even in this situation, I'm face to face with you, but you're also live on Facebook. So there's a whole bunch of other people. So I'm looking into the camera as I talk to you, because otherwise, if I looked into your face, the rest of the world would see me kind of like this. And so in order to be a good broadcaster, and I've learned this, I've had to take my entire speaking business and my Master of Ceremonies business into the virtual world. And I will tell you, I'm glad for it, but it's not the same. But I've learned that in order to be able to connect with that audience, I need to look into the camera. Yeah. And the problem with that is that then
you're looking above,
connecting as much. So I actually think that when the world returns to normal, and I've read a little bit about, how these, past pandemics have been, after a couple of years, the viruses morph and die out and change, and people get immunity within the herd, I guess is the term they use.
Herd immunity,
As soon as that happens, and it's probably longer, not sure, it's not next month, but as soon as that happens, I think there is a piece of it where we do return to larger things. However, there's some things we do that are more efficient to do in a quick Zoom meeting or, whatever. So I think there will be changes. I use the example of 9/11. So 9/11 changed the way we travel forever. And it will never go back to what it was before. I can remember my wife flying home from a business trip and meeting her at the gate with flowers right as she got off the plane. Well, I can't go through security now to meet her at the gate, bringing my kids and things like that when they were little. I can't do that now. Yeah. However, think about this. Everybody says, well, travel changed so much. Well, TSA, well, in America, TSA, but the security process changed. But after you get through security, the differences in your air travel aren't really that much. I mean, the cockpits are locked, but I never went into a cockpit anyway.
My son did.
Yeah, well, when you're a little kid. But the cockpits are locked. But reality, once I get through security, 99% of my travel experience is like it was before. Yeah. And so I think we're going to see a lot of things return to normal. The thing I'm hopeful of is that we'll be able to take the things we learned and the growth that we took and the positivity. There's a lot of talk about people, because we're stuck at home, finding their spiritual path, finding their connections. The question is, once we return to normal, will people do that? Will people latch on to that little piece of humanity they can take with them, even though 90+% of our lives will return to normal? And I think that takes effort. People have to do that with intention, because otherwise routines will come back up and we will
Yeah.
be just as distant and just as staring at our phones and everything as before.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose I see it as, it's quite interesting. And I see it as, when this first all hit, I thought, right, I know what's going to happen with travel. People that went to meetings to the other side of the world. I have a girlfriend whose husband travels for work, and he used to go to a meeting to Australia, right, from England.
Right.
So that kind of thing, I don't think will happen. I think that will change, and I think that's a really good thing.
Well, I'm gonna challenge you on that,
Do you
because
think
here's what I think. People say, "Oh, well, that's not going to happen," until their competitor gets on a plane to go to the meeting and wins the business.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. The next meeting
they have, the company's going to say, "Hey, Bob, get on the plane and fly to Australia," because it's like people said that, oh, because of all these meetings that collapsed and a lot of sponsors lost a lot of money, they said, well, no one's going to sponsor live meetings anymore. And I said, well, let's just look at festivals and music festivals.
Mm-hmm.
So what if Coke and Pepsi both said, we're not going to sponsor festivals anymore? And then Pepsi sponsors one and gets all of this attention because they have their logos everywhere and it's all over social media. Guess what happens with the next festival? Coke will sponsor it. So I don't think we're going to see.
So interesting.
I don't.
But I think what you said though was, well, I don't know. I mean, I think we've seen a drastic shift in people. We've seen almost like a separation of the people that are in fear and the people that are not in fear, that are in a possibility. And there's a massive difference there, isn't there? There are people that walk around.
I think absolutely. And we have to be intentional if we're in possibility, if we're in this stage of growth, to bring it with us when we start to return to the normal routines. A lot of companies has said, oh, we're going to continue to let everybody work from home because this has worked very well. One of the things they don't take into effect is one of the reasons it's worked well is they have existing teams who already were bonded together, who are forced because of a tragedy or a problem to do this. Well, what happens when you hire 9 more people
who don't know them?
People have never met. So like Twitter announced people don't have to come back to the office. They can work from home forever. And I said, until they change their mind, because Yahoo did that years ago. Yahoo said everybody can work from home, and a new CEO came in and said our culture is crap. We need people to be together because that's how we build culture. And so, people are saying, oh, commercial real estate will never be the same, until it is. But I think that the trick here is for people who are growing and expanding and are looking at trying to connect in different ways and getting into more of this holistic spiritual power. I think the trick is they have they have to intentionally bring it with them as we get back into routines.
I mean, the thing is, when I run groups, and I've run groups online for several years now, and I'm really blessed that my business is online because it means I can connect with people all over the world. And that was born really from going on many radio shows that were American, because then I started to, reach that market. So my groups, we do have a really beautiful connection, but the subject matter is consciousness. So, we're healing trauma, we're looking at past lives, we're looking at the Akashic records. I know you love this, Tom. And we're looking at, all the timelines, and we're shifting all of that stuff. And I suppose we have this already, this union. I mean, we're all part of a unified field of consciousness anyway. So we're all one anyway. There's no separation. So it's like, I see what you're saying, but I also know how it is with my groups.
Sure. And again, I think that that's because the people who come to your groups come with that intention. I sat down yesterday and I just wrote down what I've learned from this. And I came up with 22 things that I need to keep doing. And it was very interesting that I didn't expand or intend to write down 22 things. And I'll just read you a couple of them because
go ahead.
I've learned that I'm discovering serendipity daily. So one of the things that I did when my business got wiped out is I made a decision that every day I was going to talk to somebody smart. And I've gone out of my way to look for smart people. And out of some of those, not all of those conversations over the last few months, new opportunities have arisen. The serendipity that has come out from putting myself into conversations, a few of those have led me to things. So that's something that I've learned, that I have to sort of have planned serendipity more often. Another thing is that when I go for my runs or my walks every day, I try to go 3 to 5 miles every day, running or walking. I'm seeing beauty in the world. I'm stopping and looking at flowers, things I never used to do.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that more in the last 3 months. And I'll just read a couple of more. Another one is that I value my intuition. And that's something that I probably a year ago never would have done. I wouldn't have trusted that, but I valued that. And then another thing is I have a desire to learn more about spiritual and psychic things. And so these are all things that over this course of the last few months, I have tried to open up with. And so I just sat down and just channeled this list. And now I'm going to
look at your language.
I'm going to take this.
I channeled this list.
Who knew?
Who knew?
but I'm going to take this list and put it in a physical form where I can take it with me, because I think that I have to be intentional about that. So there's 22 things that I've
just
conscious and learned.
Conscious of it. And you can sleep on that. So you can put that, I don't mean just sleep on it. I mean, just literally sleep on it. Literally put it under your pillow, put them under your pillow, and then you're literally sleeping with that intention. That's a really key thing. I put it
under my bed because I move around and the paper would be crinkly all night. If it was under my pillow, I think I would have a crinkling problem.
But it would still be energetically there, Tom.
Yeah, but if it
maybe
woke
take
my
a photo of it.
But if it woke my wife up, I'd be sleeping on the couch, and that wouldn't match my intentions.
Or maybe she's got the same intentions with the crinkly paper. Who knows? But I know one of the things that I've noticed is that I've always been grateful because I live right by the sea. I'm very blessed. I live on the sea. I can see the sea from here. I walk to the sea twice a day. So I'm very, very blessed. And we have a beautiful park as well. And because I work from home, I get the chance to sit in the garden, have a cup of tea, walk out, whatever I want to do, walk the puppy. So I'm constantly in that field of gratitude for it. And I teach my children that. But there's one thing that I do every morning. Okay, it's when I wake up before everyone else wakes up. And I bring this incredible light into my heart. I send it up to the universe. I then send it out to the world, and then I bring it back to my heart. And my intention for that is that my love can reach whoever needs to receive it. Okay. And so it's like this beautiful intention.
That is such a weird serendipity in the fact that every morning I try to do like a 15-minute meditation. And this morning, one just popped up on YouTube as I went to search because of different things I've been watching. It was a 15-minute guided meditation from Ram Dass. And that's exactly what the meditation was take your energy and your light full, take it higher, take it out, take it to the entire universe, and then take it all the way back to your heart. So what you just described is what I did this morning.
Synchronicity there. Perfect. And there's no mistake that, I said that to you, because that was just so that you could say, well, that's exactly what I do. We're on the same page. And this is why I say there's no separation. When we're looking, before we couldn't go live earlier, I was speaking to whoever was on there. And I was saying that if we can think about what's happening in the outside world with rights, whatever's going on, we can look at, oh my goodness, that's actually me. And they are you, and you are me, and my children are, we're all connected. So therefore, when we can look at this unified field of consciousness, this is in my book, it's channeled in my book, Awaken the Light Within. And what they were channeling through me was that we are this unified field of consciousness. And so there's no separation. So perhaps now, if people listening to this or listening to it later on can look at what's going on in the outside world and say, what part of me feels anger? What part of me feels fear? And how they can shift that so that when they perceive the world, they perceive it in a slightly different way, because energetically and vibrationally, it's different. Yeah. And one of the things that, tell me what you're doing for everybody at the moment, but I do twice a month moon meditation activations. You're welcome to come on. So what I do is by donation basis only, I offer a sort of a 1.5 hour, 2 hour meditation with clearings, with activations, but it's also astrology. So it's really cool. So I look at what's going on in the astrology and the chart and where it affects you. And I just do it as donation. So twice a month, we're putting this consciousness out to the planet to raise the human resonance. So as we shift, the planet shifts. So not from a place of fixing or wanting to kind of like shift out all the people that are not kind or anything like that, just for raising the consciousness. And so that's what I'm doing, and other stuff as well. But what's going on in your world?
Well,
and come on in, I'll invite you. I'll click on you and invite you.
Well, for me, I mean, like I said, the big thing is I'm just sort of stumbling my way through all of this, and am just open to whatever sort of crosses my path. And so as I've Googled and searched, now the algorithm tries to throw different teachers and different things in front of me. But, you know, as we look at sort of the horrible things that are going on in my country right now, you know, as a middle-aged white guy, I don't feel I'm the person to chime in on this. This is horrible things that are going on, but I want to do something. So I'm trying very hard to just send, you know, whatever that light is that you speak of, you know, that love, that energy out into the greater thing, because we have to make changes around the world. It's not just the United States that has these problems, and we need to make changes around the world. But I think that it takes more than words. And so I think we need to have that focus and that energy. And then on top of that, I think that we need to have leaders step up who will lead. And I think that we've had a lack of that in our culture for a long time.
How do you feel about the leadership over your way across the pond? I mean, you know,
you know, it's unfortunate, but I think the system is stronger than any one man. And, you know, I think a 4-year blip is what it is. And so
he's a light worker, right?
You know, I've never, I did not vote for him. I've never thought that he belonged to be there. But, you know, again, it's one of those things that sometimes I think we have to go through darkness to be able to understand the light. So my hope is we will look back on this era as a chance to be able to identify what we need.
Era or error?
Yeah, well, it was an error in the era. But, you know, I hope that in some ways we'll be able to look back and say that, you know, it allowed us to see what we want in leadership by having what we didn't want in leadership. But the flip side is there are people who they like, you know, certain leaders that other people don't like. And by the same time,
that's
it's not
the same as everything,
you know, to condemn other people's points of view. But I think as a whole, we need to rise above the BS or the bullshit or whatever you want to call it. So, you know, I'm hopeful that as I get older and as I explore, you know, I'm able to help, you know, guide some other people through this. I call it sort of, you know, from work to woo-woo.
Oh, that word, my goodness. I was called that many years ago. It doesn't come into my directory anymore, but it used to.
No, but I don't have a problem with it, but there's a lot that I have to learn. You know, I'm sort of a neophyte there, but I'm just following it. And so I'm making friends with people like you who guide the way. And I'm open to what comes down the path.
Yeah, and I, you know, because I'm a scientist, I love the whole science. So spiritual scientist, you know, is for me looking at the science of who we are, but the soul of who we are, and it's putting the two together. And even in the medical field, you know, there's no separation from mind and body, and yet the medical field are taught that there's just mind and body, and that there's a symptom, and we have to sort that symptom out. But we're not looking at the cause of why that symptom was showing to people. And so for me, it's about looking at both. It's looking at what's going on in the soul. Why did we attract that into our experience to learn from it? So what's going on in the world is, why did we attract this?
Why did we attract this in so many? And it's not just my country. You know,
same. We've got, I mean, come on, look at what's happening in the UK. We don't know what we're doing. But the one thing I really want to say is, you know, cutting all of that out, we were never meant to be governed by one person. And that, not even a man on a cloud, right? Not even what people might perceive God to be. We were never meant to be told what to do. We were always meant to know within. We have our own GPS, right? And so it's like, that is our key. That is our key, listening to that and getting out of the way of the judgment. And, you know, and I'm with that. You know, when I go into supermarkets and I see people wearing masks, I struggle with not being in my 3D reality of judgment, because it just seems crazy. Scientifically, it's crazy, but also spiritually, it feels crazy. So I have to kind of step back. I'm very blessed I do this work because I do it every day of the week. So I get a chance to remember all the time who we are on a conscious level. So I'm very lucky. But I can imagine that if I was always seeing that every single day of the week and every single day I was in judgment, I would be as bad or good as that person. So it's like trying to kind of come back from that, but also acknowledging it, that actually, yes, we're looking at what's showing up, so we can look at how far are we in connection to who we truly are. And that, I think, is the key. It's like always coming home to that part of us that has all the answers, not the government, certainly not the UK government, certainly not the American.
They don't have the answers. But that's, again, that's what I'm trying to learn, is I'm trying to discover and uncover that path to something bigger. So I welcome more teachings and more learnings, and you know, I kind of welcome the guide. I keep saying that when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Well, I'm going to invite you on we've got a full moon eclipse global meditation, which is 9 o'clock on Friday. So it's the 5th of June. And so I'm going to add you and invite you.
I will come if the universe allows my schedule.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. It's 5 o'clock here, nearly in the UK. So 4 hours from there. So that would hopefully meet your schedule on Friday. We will see. If not, you can come on the next one. But yeah, I mean, it's been fun. It's been a pleasure. We've learned something new technically. We can go from
now
Zoom.
Know how to go Zoom to Facebook. So that was
YouTube. Did you know you can do it YouTube as well?
I have never gone live to YouTube, but I know you can.
I know. Well, I've just found out that you can from Zoom. So I'm really excited. So Tom, fantastic. So if people want to connect with you, where can they get you?
The best way to find me is thomsinger.com. It's THOMSINGER.com. And kind of all the social medias, I'm just Thom Singer.
Yeah, just Thom Singer, my great friend. And you can get me on susankennard.co.uk and listen to our podcast, The Spiritual Awakener.
They have to go listen to you on my podcast.
Yes.
Because it was awesome. Yes. It was a great interview. And they can find that on Cool Things Entrepreneurs Do, thomsinger.com/podcast. It's about 6 episodes ago. So people can find you there. And it was good. They could go listen to all the stuff you shared.
Yeah, and you need to listen to Tom on my podcast, which was The Spiritual Awakener. And I can't remember which episode it was. It was one of the persons. I'm sorry about that. But much love to everybody. Much love to you, Tom. And let's do this again.
Anytime you invite me, I'll come.
Brilliant. Okay. Much love, guys. Bye.